So there's a chapter in the book that's called What to Expect When You're Metastasizing. And really it's about all the different kinds of procedures that your patient might encounter as they're going through treatment. I'll share a little bit of the chapter with you now. Let's talk about scans. I'm going to use that term scan for any of a number of different procedures that somebody at GE Medical Systems probably developed as a way to see inside your body without either cutting you open or sticking a camera into an orifice that you may or may not have been born with. There's CAT scans, or they call them CT scans, there's MRIs, and then my personal favorite, PET scans. Those are some of the most common ones. Scans may come with or without contrast, and contrast, you should know, your patient should know, is a beverage they make you drink. It is a mixture of chalk and goat semen, and the reason they make you drink it is because the techs usually have a daily pool to see how many patients can we get to drink the goat semen. So they'll tell you that the contrast is there to help them identify the different areas of cancer and how much activity the cells have, but I think that's bullshit. Maybe goat shit. Anyway, I've been told that the amount of radiation that the typical cancer patient receives going through all these scans during their treatment is really no more than, say, your average TSA worker might get during their busy workday as they walk back and forth through the scanners in the airport, having some inane personal conversation with one of their coworkers that usually finishes with, "Oh no, he didn't." Nevertheless, it's probably important to keep in mind that there is some radiation involved here, and I don't know about these folks, but if Richie were in charge over at GE Medical, he'd make damn sure that your average 30-year-old breast cancer patient got enough radiation to make sure she was coming back for some more treatment sometime before she turned 50. But I digress. Let's go back to PET scans. With a PET, not only do you drink the contrast, but you also get a radioactive shot. They literally bring out a little lead-lined box. It has a needle in it with some radioactive material in it. They inject you with this stuff, and then they leave you in this lead-lined room for an hour, and that's to make sure that you don't go wandering out in the hall and sneeze on some maintenance guy and turn him into a superhero or something. So they have you do that, and then they're going to slide you into the tube. We'll talk about the tube in just a second, but first I want to tell you about Vince. Now, Vince is the second funniest guy that I have met in my cancer journey. He was 50-something, I'd say, and he looked kind of like an underfed Santa Claus. Very funny guy, though. His humor was what I'd call, subtle but very effective. I'll give you an example. As he's getting out his IV equipment and getting ready to hook me up, Vince goes, "Hey, do you mind if I use your right arm?" And I said, "I don't really care, whatever you think is best, Vince." And he said, "Good, because that's the one that I had in the training video." I'm kind of new at this. Again, the guy's been doing this forever, and Vince knows. The reality is nobody wants to be in there with him getting this procedure done. But I admire the fact that he recognizes that, and he makes it his personal mission to make sure that people laugh a little bit. They relax a little bit, and maybe for a minute they kind of forget about the gravity of what it is they're dealing with. The results of the scan you're about to take are going to impact that patient's life, and maybe in a very significant way. So you might as well have a chuckle or two before they slide you into that tube. Now, let's talk about the tube. They come in different shapes and sizes, but they all seem to have one thing in common. They are exactly a half an inch wider than the distance from one's wrist to one's elbows when you have your hands in this position. And I can only imagine that it's kind of like a game of operation. If you touch the sides with your elbows, I think there's live electricity in there, and it starts zapping you so as to remind you not to do that again. I think, I don't know, I never actually tried touching the sides, but it seems like a perfectly logical operation to me. Now, PET scans can last for quite a while. Mine were typically 20-25 minutes. And so if you happen to be a yoga master, this would be a really, really good time for you to impart some of that Zen-inducing, chanting, breathing stuff into your patients so they can get all relaxified. Or if you live in a state where medical marijuana is legal, this might be a good time to call upon that as well. But you want to check with your doctor first, because I really don't know if the ganja interferes with the goat semen or not. Who knows? Anyway, when the book comes out, you'll be able to read more about scans and about radiation and about other treatments that your patient might encounter, and you'll be able to help them because, after all, it's blood, sweat, and tears, a humorous guide to helping patients with cancer.